Hey everybody, Rick here with the word for Wednesday. Hope you're doing well. Just got a couple thoughts. You know what? I've had one of those times with God this morning where I kind of was reading and something just popped up. It just popped out of nowhere. First Peter 4:8. Therefore, brothers, love one another, for love covers a multitude of sin. I can't tell you that there is a more appropriate time for me to hear that word than right now. In this day, where there is so much of the fabric of our society that has just been torn. I mean, torn. Think about it. Just the rioting and the hurt, the economic impact of COVID and these riots and then the protests with the need to be heard, and then you have all this going on with our COVID fear. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, sometimes things are so overwhelming and undaunting that where do we begin? Well, this is where we begin. Most of us that know Jesus have a majority of our relationships are Christians. In fact, statistically, if you come to know Christ as an adult, in 7 years, you will lose the bulk of your relationships with non-Christians outside of work. It's just a fact. So with that, how do we expand our circle? Because we got to love. See, and I don't mean love like, hey, I love you, or a token like on Facebook. I mean this. I mean a love that is willing to look at the brokenness and the torn fabric of our society today and say, God's power and kingdom are the only thing that are going to heal this. So how do we bring that in? How do we make the power of God, the presence of God, and the kingdom of God the thread that weaves through this tapestry of our society? One soul at a time. Friends, never before in my life has there been this is what's truly unprecedented, is the need for the church to speak into the community and reach into the community. Now is the time to have that conversation with your neighbor. Now is the time to have that conversation with your coworkers. Now is the time to have simple things like inviting people to watch church online and then talking to them about it, engaging them. This is the time. In Esther 4, it talks about this time like this where she used the blessing that God had given her, which today would be seen as I hate the word, but it's the effective word, is privilege. And I mean that because it's not about, in her case, she was given favor and blessing to be used for a purpose. The purpose was to elevate a people. See, that is the nature of God. It is the thread of redemption that goes from Genesis to Revelation, that God's people reach into need and elevate a society. When you look at that, when you think of it that way, that's why your relationships are so strategic, because you can't change the world, but you can change one soul. You can impact one life. And if that one life is the life that ends up changing 10 more, then your impact is exponential. The problem is we just don't see it. Oftentimes we're too busy. I get too busy. We get to the point where, and look, rest and refreshing is healthy and good for a soul. But when we hide in a refuge instead of engaging a culture, that's when we have a challenge. When we shy away from the things that we should be doing, like reaching people with the gospel, like talking to people about how their thinking doesn't really engage with what God has created, is not accurate, it's not coherent, and it's not about a difference of opinion. There's an eternity at stake. Even to the point where we really believe that there's eternity at stake for some people is a is a question that we have to deal with. It's a resolution that you have to come in your heart before God and ask, God, how am I engaging in advancing the kingdom, and how am I helping people discover you? See, love is the power that is going to heal our broken society. Friend, I want you to know as I've been wrestling with this passage and wrestling with the fact of, hey, am I going to get heat for this? Am I going to, yeah, I don't care. Go ahead, text, email, whatever. The truth of the matter is we are not going to heal the divides in people by simply making statements. Clicking like on Facebook isn't going to make anybody come to Jesus. Taking preliminary steps, taking things to actually restore people and love people, to bring dignity and grace and wholeness to people. Now that's a different statement. So when I think of someone that is in a struggling financially due to the COVID, due to the loss of job, due to whatever, I don't judge their need. I lift them up. When I see someone of color, I don't look at them and say, and question what stereotype they're going to fulfill for me. I see the image of God in them. And my mission is to call them out to fullness so they can experience God fully and fulfill his plan, the plan that God has designed for them from the beginning. This is a different mission than we have. We in essence, so many ways, aren't political. We are made up of people with different political opinions. That's what a church is, sure. But we are not a political agency. Our agent and mechanism of change is service, love, and selflessness to bring the kingdom of God to those in need. So I hope you're thinking about this. And I hope that you can engage your heart into asking yourself, how am I going to, even as we go in the world, because that's the interesting thing. The Great Commission in the Greek says, as you go into the world. So as you're doing life, how am I going to lift someone up? As I'm doing life, how am I going to bring somebody into a place of greater depth and knowledge in Jesus? And it can be simple. Hey, a guy just cut me off on the interstate, and I'm going to pray for him and I'm going to bless him. They'll never know, but you spoke those words over them and you lifted them up. You don't know what their situation is. That guy who's asking for money on the street corner, am I going to give him money? No, but I'm going to give him a meal. I'm going to stop my car and go get him a meal or ask him if he needs one. I'm going to engage people with insecurities and hurts and say, you're better than this. There's more to you. God created you for a different purpose. You're not meant to live in fear. Come with me. It's those life-changing moments that I think the world is waiting for. Would you think about that? Would you pray about that? Would you say, would you try to move the needle just a little more this week and get an engagement with what God would have for you in your role in your community? Just some thoughts. I love y'all. Look forward to talking to you about this more, and stay tuned for next week. Take care.